Hello everyone, welcome to day number 5 of the 30-day challenge. I'm Camron Gran, and today we'll be going over some of my biggest pet peeves in storytelling, whether that's in film or in books. I just want to get these out there so people can stop doing these things, or even give me an answer as to why they're a thing to begin with. Let's begin. Misogynistic okayism. Basically any movie where the main character or the other characters in the movie are completely based on these people who just reduce women to their body parts. Even worse than that, when they use toxic masculinity to push a character further. An example of this is if for anybody who watched Wrath of Man, Jason Statham is not that way, so he could have been great. Problem with that movie is that all the men around him and even some of the women, because they're security guards, that were supposed to speak in a way that made them seem more macho, and the only way to seem macho was to call a guy who happens to show emotion a homosexual, or this woman who had to act like these guys talking about their dicks. Like, that's the only way to be macho and be an okay security guard. I don't like it, and it was really annoying in that movie. Number 9, emphasizing useless small details that have nothing to do with the plot. A good example of this is in The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, when J.R.R. Tolkien goes into explaining all the ways that hobbits inhabit the earth, and the reason being is the 3 books and The Hobbit are all about them. So despite the fact that he takes 3 or 4 pages explaining how they are in the beginning of the book / or movie, doesn't take away from the story because the story is about them. Whereas also in J.R.R. Tolkien is a negative because he gets to the forest in The Hobbit and he starts describing a branch of a tree, and it goes on for a page and a half, and it has nothing to do with the story. It's just this branch that he thought was really cool that he really wanted the audience to get. I'm okay with that when you do that if the forest or the tree is important. If this branch never comes up again and you just took a page and a half to explain it to me, the reason why it drives me crazy is because then in my head I make it a bigger deal because you've been describing it for so long. A workaround for this is only go into that much detail on something that is important and comes back either in the same movie or story or further on in the series. Number 8 is one-dimensional characters. Have you ever watched a movie and seen this character who you think is going to have this huge character arc, and then at the end of the movie he's basically just the same person that he begins as? That's a one-dimensional character. There's no growth. I want development. I want story. I want to believe that my time with somebody in a movie is worthy of both of our times. Number 7, overly complicating. It is okay for you to go into detail about stuff, but sometimes you need to dumb it down for your audience, because sometimes you can go in too much detail that it makes it hard to follow what's going on in a plot, because you're basically assuming that your audience is at the same level of knowledge that you are, and so it makes it hard to know, oh, what's the plot, because I'm trying to find out all the scientific stuff. And the reason why I say this is I don't like high fantasy movies or novels because they created these huge different worlds, but they don't go into how it works. And when they do, they're not going into how it works with the important stuff that has to do with the plot. They're going into all this random detail that just confuses me because I'm now trying to understand how time warping happens while also trying to understand how this fancy gun that does like the same kind of time bending. And so it's so much going on at the same time. It's like, which part of this is the plot? If the character's running and they use a time portal gun to shoot and go through, you can use action to do the same thing because you're now showing them what it does instead of taking 5-6 pages to explain the mechanics of the exact science of how it works. Because I am not a scientific person, and I'm sure other people out there are not as well, and sometimes I'm just trying to wrap my head around the knowledge so much that the characters kind of lose the steam of me wanting to follow you because I'm just so wrapped up and trying to be like, what, come again? How'd this happen? Can you explain further? Because I lost you about 5 chapters ago. Number 6, heavy exposition. That basically explains what's going on in the film anyways, so why are we watching the film if we have already been told everything that happens? A good example of using exposition is the beginning of Hamilton. Basically tell you that Aaron Burr kills Hamilton. I think it worked because everything after that has nothing to do with Aaron Burr killing Hamilton. It's all about Hamilton's life and explaining it. The only time I feel like exposition can be great is when you use it as a peripheral exposition. It can be in the background of a shot, or if it's like something so subtle that you don't even think about it until the end of the book when you're like, oh my gosh, they said this at the beginning. I need to go back because it was exposition, but it was so subtle and in the peripheral of the scene that I didn't realize what it was. And that's why it's brilliant. But heavy exposition makes everything seem like it has no purpose and we're just wasting our time. If you guys haven't already, I would appreciate it if you guys would tap the little like button so this video can get to more people, and that way I can get into your guys' pet peeves. What kind of story things do you not understand? Or if there are any of them that I've listed that you don't like, then please let me know. And also that we're still only on at 5. I have 5 more to go. Who knows from here where I might just drive you crazy and you could be like, what are you going on about, Camron? Get over that. You're asking too much of us. Here we go. 5. Author interruption. We all love Deadpool. Deadpool's all about breaking the fourth wall and bringing the audience into the story. That's not what I'm talking here. If you watch a series of unfortunate events, it's following the Butterlade children and them trying to find a home after their house burned down and they're dealing with Count Olaf. But in between all that, they have Lemony Snicket and he stops the plot in order to address the audience. Well, I do appreciate the style and the reason they're doing it is for suspense. For the most part, it doesn't have anything to do with the plot. It's just him commenting on what's already happening, so it feels useless to me. Number 4, stereotypical romances. Love doesn't just exist one way, so why can't we play with that formula and make it your own and actually show the way that other people's lives? Like, we have different kind of story arcs, and I feel like if we just showed people that it was okay to love and it was okay to honor people that one care and respect for you, you don't always have to lose the thing that you love to know how important they are to you. You can if you're not careful, but sometimes people deserve like a great big hug, you know? I want a hug sometimes when I go to a romance movie, and I don't always feel like I'm being hugged. I'm just being bombarded with what's been going on since I was born. I want new, but also good. We're getting down to the bottom 3, everyone. Number 3, gardener storytelling. Now, I'm not talking about people who use that style. What I'm talking about is people who use the gardening technique, which usually means you're in the character's perspective, and you don't know what's going to happen until you finish the book, and that's how the story is created. And the only time that this technique bothers me is in first person. What usually happens is we're following one thing, and the plot and what's actually important is happening somewhere else that we're not part of. Number 2, unearned climaxes. You have to earn your moments. I love the ending of the first Harry Potter book because you see all the things that Quirrell was doing, and you don't catch up to him being the villain until the last moment. But if you reread the story, you see all the hints that he is the villain. So when he ends up being the villain, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's an earned moment. I feel like it's an important thing for a mystery novel. You need to feel like the villain is worth the time you invested, and it was. That leads me into number 1. The fact that authors have to write in their own genre is ridiculous. The fact that Nora Roberts and J.K. Rowling felt like they had to change their name and make it sound more manly twice in order to be taken seriously is ridiculous. You should read a book based on the merit of the story and not just assume because of gender that it has anything to do with the style of writing that is taking place. I don't like the fact that J.K. Rowling had to change her name into Robert Galbraith in order to write mystery novels for adults, because when she released The Casual Vacancy after Harry Potter, no parent decided to invest their time in researching whether that book was ready for children. She should not have to be limited to only writing kids novels because she wrote Harry Potter. It is up to you as a reader to research what you're about to read. Don't sell an author as one thing. Whew. And with that, everyone, that was my 10 pet peeves of storytelling, and I'm glad to share it with you guys, and I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. It allowed me to get a lot of things off my chest. It made me feel really invested and good about where I'm going, and I would really appreciate some feedback. I'd like to hear about your pet peeves. So if you want to tell me about your pet peeves, feel free to leave a comment, and you can always subscribe so you can follow the other 26 episodes of the 30-day challenge. Why 26? Why not 25? Because this is the 5th day, Camron? Because I'm doing all of October. I'm not excluding Halloween. Halloween is the best part of October. I'm not crazy. Showing up for myself has really improved my mental state, and I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!